Welcome. I'm Leslie Rittenberg, the Refinery and Process Manufacturing Product Manager from Beyond Limits. We're going to be talking about harnessing cognitive technology in refining to accelerate digitization. So I think we've been on some great digital journeys over the last couple years, and we have improved in many spaces. And I think everybody would like to know how to continue to use AI as we operate closer to a plan. We've used machine learning and AI applications as it relates to availability and optimization. And this talk is going to be focused on more of the discussion in the optimization space as it relates to refining. So in optimization, what do we strive for? We certainly strive for better raw material yields. We want to have fast decision-making and confident decision-making by our operators. We want to always improve our product quality and not have too much product giveaway. And we want to be able to respond to constraint management challenges and bottlenecks we face in our plants. And we postulate that if we use AI, it's going to help us start to significantly improve in all of these areas. So what have been some of our challenges? I know many of us have done a significant amount of proof of concepts. We've tried to deploy new software products. And in all of those journeys, what we're trying to do is, number one, capture our worker knowledge and start to encode and digitize that. And we would like to do it as fast as possible. This is a race to accelerate and digitize across our business. And we want to do that as effectively as possible and not have to have an extreme amount of programming to be faced with. We also have found that we don't want a black box solution. We want to understand how our models and AI and advanced analytics come to their conclusions and give us the recommendations that we can trust. And finally, humans still need to be involved in the loop, and they have to have context-rich decision. If we do not have consistent and trustworthy results from our AI models, then we have difficulty in deploying them and using them. So here's a diagram that starts to show a little bit of the journey we've been on. We certainly have improved our process data. We've brought a lot of that data into the cloud. We've spent a lot of time with data quality and have cleaned it up. And in many cases, we've deployed new sensors so that we can even have stronger confidence in our numeric solutions. We've deployed numeric AI, which has begun to help us see things faster or understand certain relationships that we didn't previously understand as well. We've trained them on a lot of historic data, and we are now alerting and visualizing messages to be proactive in our plants and not be reactive. We still, however, have, in many cases, our numeric AI programs are still giving us false positives, which again go back to the level of trust that we have and the amount of work needed to dismiss the false positives. We have a lot of work in terms of model breakdown and in sustaining those models to give us the best solutions. And with anything, because of the safety critical nature of all of our business, we really want our operators to buy into the solution so they can trust it and take the optimal course of action. So what can we do about this? We can start to insert what Beyond Limits is recommending as symbolic AI. It's a more effective hybrid or composite solution that is going to start to close the gaps and the deficiencies that we've been experiencing with just pure numeric AI. Symbolic AI can begin to have some reasoning and solving capability that starts to be human-like and starts to help us with the deficiencies we've been seeing in numeric AI. What do we want it to do? We want it to improve that decision support package for the humans in the loop still, predominantly our operators. We can get it to recommend classifications. It can give us confidence scores. It can give us recommendations. And most of all, it can be like a glass box and start to give us a cognitive trace that explains how it came to the conclusions that it did. We can interact with it and have our operators start to increase their trust and reduce their uncertainty. And ultimately get to a faster time to decision and upscale our workforce at the same time. So let's get deeper into refinery specific challenges. Over the years, especially in the space of optimization, we've seen that we've been innovative, and most of us have advantage feedstock programs. We've improved our profitability by buying cheaper feedstocks and crudes, and they generally have more challenging needs in processing them in our refinery. They have higher sulfur and are by far heavier crudes. Also, especially with last year's pandemic, we've seen a large amount of our experienced workforce depart. Many of the major oil and gas companies offered severance packages with the challenging P&L operations. And so we lost a lot of our experience last year. And finally, with product demand challenges that we also saw from the pandemic, as well as some cyber attacks, we can see some large volatility in our refinery margins. And we've responded well over the years with incrementally improving our margin. Many of us have invested in the front end of our kits, modifying our crude units. And in the process of those major capital investments, it's not unusual to be faced with new bottlenecks and constraints that show up downstream of your refinery. We get faced with those constraints, and they give new challenges to operations when they're trying to execute a commercial plan. They can create unpredictability in the operation of the plant and can change the predictability of our catalyst life, unplanned maintenance, unplanned downtime. We've all seen these challenges, and we know that our operators always need assistance and support from our engineering experts. Here's a picture as we start to think about how we execute our refinery commercial plans. As you can see on the bottom level, we have some very strong systems and controls processes. We've invested heavily over the years to automate and to have a high level of confidence in the performance of that equipment. And on the top level, we've clearly invested in our planning and scheduling processes. We've improved our models in that space. We have very capable staff in that space. And we have high expectations that we're going to deliver a very executable and profitable plan when we process our different crude feedstocks. Now, if we look at the middle section, we have improved our operations staff over the years through simulator training, and we obviously have turnover in that space and provide good training when we bring on new staff. But if we think about, in all honesty, how we hand over that plan that we want them to execute flawlessly each time, that part of our business has not changed tremendously over the years. And so we still experience, even though we have definitely improved level 1 and 2 and level 4, we still do have a gap between our plan and actual when we execute a commercial plan. So Beyond Limits felt that we could place an advisor in this space to start to close that profitability gap. It would be an assistant to operations in real time. It would start to identify, number one, the plan versus actual performance. In real time, full transparency, one source of the truth. Are we able in executing our plan as we want it to? Above and beyond that, it starts to encode expert engineering knowledge to actually help them solve the problem of the gap in real time. It deploys an AI reasoner that starts to look at process constraints and understands what is the best commercial option for the operator to take to adjust the plant and achieve a higher level of profitability in real time. And again, it starts to iterate and tell the planning and scheduling organization, was their plan as achievable as they thought? Where are the gaps that they can improve? So over time, what we are starting to see is, number one, the adherence to plans starts to improve, but also the ability to iterate across the whole organization and fundamentally improve your ability of delivering a gap to a plan starts to shrink and improve. So we deployed the solution at a very large, complex refinery in Indiana. The Whiting BP refinery is within top 10 of the largest, most complex refineries in the US. And before our solution, they were struggling in a couple places. When they were doing campaign changes with their feedstock, they would have inconsistent operations and larger than average unsteady state during those campaign changes. They were faced with competing priorities in their constraints, and at times operators did not fully understand the instructions and the priorities that were coming from the commercial group. And due to that, they would get into a uncertainty in their decision making and did not have the flawless execution that they were hoping to have in their commercial execution. The solution we deployed had a no-code SaaS application in the cloud. It started to allow them to optimize closer to the plan, closer to 100% of the time. They could reduce the unsteady state that they were experiencing during campaign changes, and they were upgrading their products to higher value products, overall accelerating their operator agility and their confidence to come to a decision faster. The other incredible thing around the deployment was the adoption time. I have been involved in software deployment packages over the years in many different plants. And the BP Whiting team was successful in adopting this program in 1 month. They were able to engage with their entire process and optimization engineers and create over 200 plus complex refinery objectives to represent their commercial plan. And they represented this with no code in language that the operators were well familiar with and understood. After the deployment, we monitored their ability to meet plan, and we saw a 17% improvement in operating to plan. And we also see that they're using over 2,000 real-time sensors to help the operators evaluate and prioritize. Beyond Limits is excited to bring these AI products to many different industries. In the oil and gas industry, the one example I just gave you was our Refinery Operations Advisor package. We also have offers in the well production space with well infell and well health solutions. Well infell is focused on improving overall production and helping the production teams understand where to drill. Well health is managing the health and the asset monitoring around the well. Our cognitive formulation advisor is helping the lubrications portion of our business create more economical formulations in faster time. And then in power and water, we have some sensor placement solutions healthcare, we have a smart patient monitoring solution. And in finance, we have investment solutions. Thank you for your time and looking forward to answering any questions you may have.